This probably is, this should be roast beef.
Ameena. We'll do formal introductions afterwards.
Hey everybody. Sorry I'm late.
Hi everybody. Welcome to the first part of Piece by Piece. I'm Wendy Garcliffe, Executive Director of United Neighbors, and we sponsor the Piece by Piece Summit along with Greater Fall River Partners for a Healthy Community, Community Development and Recreation, and the City of Fall River Youth Services Coordinator. So we've been doing the Piece by Piece Summit for 5 years. Each year it has sort of morphed into something bigger and better, and I think this year we have hit a home run. We are privileged and honored to have with us today Ameena Phillips. Matthews. I guess I'll get your name. So I'll read from my table. Ameena has dedicated her life as a community activist for peace building and social change. Since 2006, Ameena has been a part of Ceasefire, an award-winning public health model that has been proven to reduce shootings and killings by seeking out and building relationships to youth who are susceptible to the social norms of violence. A senior violence interrupter is a highly specialized violence intervention expert who works to mediate conflict on the front end to stop the transmission of violence. The stats are incredible. Due to Ameena's personal influence in the Englewood community where she works, she has mediated in 2011 alone 65 conflicts, organized 49 shooting responses, worked with 75 high-risk participants, and organized 10 peace summits, all in 1 year. Her effectiveness contributed to Ceasefire having a 41 to 73% drop in shootings and killings in ceasefire zones overall, with a 100% success reduction in retaliatory killings in 5 out of the 8 communities examined. Those are amazing statistics. Growing up in one of the toughest neighborhoods in Chicago, raised by her single grandmother, Ameena committed herself to ending the mindset that violence is normal behavior. She has always promoted peace through block and community center gatherings, youth expression through art, music, dance, and spoken word, and now with her work with Ceasefire. In 2009, she became the subject of the national and international award-winning documentary, The Interrupters. The Sundance Film Festival winner features her as a riveting community activist and behavior practitioner. In 2011, the New York Times Magazine awarded her with the top 5 performance in 2011, although The Interrupters was a documentary. Ameena has appeared on every major TV network, as well as CNN, BBC, Frontline, NPR, and has been covered in USA Today, Chicago Tribune, Chicago Sun-Times, Jet Magazine, and the New York Times. She received the TEDx Midwest Heroes Award presented by Illinois Governor Quinn, and was honored as the 2011 Chicagoan of the Year, to name a few. But I learned about Ameena from Stephen Colbert. Okay. From this very brief interview, Stephen Colbert does a show on Comedy Central. He's a fake news guy. And Ameena was interviewed by Stephen. And what I saw when I watched, maybe it was 7 minutes, 8 minutes that you were with him all talk, the dignity that she presented, the mission that she described, her commitment to changing the world, and the effectiveness of what she was doing just turned me on so much that I immediately went online to Google to find out all about it. And the more I read about Ameena, the more I realized that she gets it. And not only does she get it, she knows how to make it better. And what she's doing is working. And although it's difficult, it's not rocket science. And we can do it here. We can do it in Brockton, we can do it in New Bedford, and we can do it in Fall River. It is a model that has proven success and that we can learn about. So tonight's purpose is not just to listen to what Ameena has to say, because we certainly want to do that, but we want to enter into some dialogue with the idea of how can we take what she's doing in Chicago, what Ceasefire is able to accomplish in Chicago, and bring it to our communities. So it is my privilege and awesome honor to introduce Ameena Matthews.
I'll pay you later. I need that piece of paper. So I can have the kids read it off every time I go into the school and the stores and different places like that. Good afternoon, everybody. So glad to be here. So good to see each and every one of you all in spite of the blizzard outside. And I can talk that it's a blizzard because Chicago, we have been, and I'll be very upset with each and every one of you if I get off the plane Saturday and I have 3 inches to a foot of snow outside. I'll blame it on Brittany. So I just really, I'm so honored to be here. This is such a beautiful, the towns that I've had an opportunity to drive through. I had an opportunity to hang out in New Bedford a couple of months ago and see how the heartbeat and the energy and, you know, how the guys and girls are feeling about growing up in life, and it was amazing to be a part of that that venue, and it is amazing to be a part of this venue. And Wendy is absolutely right. I can't do my job by myself. I don't do my job by myself. I don't do. It's really a purpose. I don't fulfill my purpose by myself. I have to have other beautiful angels that have been through journey, tests, trials, and errors. See, that's what makes us such a strong peacekeepers. If we were very strong hellraisers. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, as Wendy read off the bio, that is just a testimony to my test. You know, things that I have been doing and places where I've been and where I've been before that. You know, I am no different than any of you guys. There is not, if there was a perfect world, I can't say if we wouldn't be here or not, but we would not be going through a whole bunch of stuff that we're going through now. So, in an imperfect world, having people to sit in a round peace circle, to have discussion, to action. Not just discussion, to just talk and blow off some steam because that mother somebody next door to me says some shit to me I ain't like, and that police shook me down, and that teacher who she thinks she is. Not that. We already know that we're going to be tested. We already know that we have to have some discipline. We already know that we have to train our egos in order to be good peacekeepers. So I am here to just be a good servant. If there's any questions that you want to ask of me, past, present, and future, I have no regrets of my journey. I have no regrets of nothing, nowhere, or anybody I have done. I have no regrets about it. So my life today is full of love, forgiveness, and compassion of Ameena. Of Ameena. Of Ameena. And then I can kick it with you guys. So if there's any questions, I'm just really just blown away. First of all, I'm just so blown away about seeing a small community having small resources that to me is impactable. That's impactable to me. Really, for real it is. Because as my husband always tells the kids, it takes one Smokey the Bear to start a forest fire. It wasn't ever Smokey the Bear, but anyway, it takes one person to start that forest fire, right? It takes that one person to pass that joint to get me off and running, or I never alcohol, so I can't, I'm talking about me. So it takes that one person to get stuff kicked off. So it really is so amazing to see in the areas where I am today, this afternoon, that there's more than one, but it's a small group, to talk about, look, I don't know, who wants to get out of here? I'm telling my husband when I get back, we're moving here. Gas is $3.36 here. I'm moving back here. So who wants to get out? Who wants to get out of Massachusetts? Who wants to get out of New Bedford? Who wants to get out? You do? Just to visit, right? Good. Good. Just to visit? Why did you pick all the places in the United States of America to move to Chicago? It sucks. I hate it. But as my journey moved on and I started figuring out why I was there, and I didn't have a choice on when my mom and dad did the grown folk, I had a sperm hit the egg, so here I am, and I was born in Chicago, so I had to do the best that I had to do what I had to work with, right? So, that's how life is. You gotta do the best with what you have to work with, and then you can carry it forward. So, any questions for me and what it is that I can do? I'm just so, what you doing here?
Come to you.
Who got you over the border? Who got you over the bridge? That's my guy. I mean, he took me, when I was in New Bedford, I went to this place called The Spot. And it was the best Borican food. I'm in New Bedford. The best Borican food I ever had in my life. And I saved it and I munched on it. But it is amazing to see. See, one thing in Chicago that is not happening, and I was talking about this at lunch, you guys, and for the community organizers that's in the rooms as well as the participants. In Chicago, we don't mess with it. Well, I mess with anybody. You know, I ain't gang banging, I ain't banging, I ain't territory, I don't set trip, I mess with everybody. But people don't mess with those that think that they're getting more money than the next person. They don't do that. But my goal is, because the importance is that I love my brother. I love my brother. Wherever my brother asks me to be, I'm going to be there. Wherever I need to be or whatever I need to do to save a life of one of my young sisters and brothers, I'll do it. And when I say my sisters and brothers, I want y'all to get it twisted up in here. I ain't talking about black. I ain't talking about Senegalese. I ain't talking about dark skin with a gold tooth. I'm talking about my brothers and sisters of humanity, that are human beings, that have good hearts, that come to me without a hand to harm. And that's exactly what I have. So that's what's so amazing, that you all come together and brainstorm on what it is that we can do to not have a problem like Chicago. I got offended when I read a headline and they called Chicago Chirac. I was like, really? And I still live in Chicago, I do. And it's not the way that it's off the chain. It's off the chain. It's not unforgivable. How about that? It's not beyond the point where it cannot be, or a person cannot spread the word that you don't have to kill anybody to resolve a conflict. So, questions, ideas. Oh, I love this. I'm ready to go back to Chicago so I can go and brag about you guys. I'm serious. I'm very surprised to see people in the room that I've seen before that have programs other places and that want to work with little or no money, that will work with little or no money, that will come and support Wendy and what it is that she got going. I'm tripping over here for real. I am.
How we do in South Coast of Massachusetts.
That's what's up. So any questions? Yes, ma'am.
What would you say, growing up around so much violence, what would you say changed your mind instead of staying in that path of the violence and you becoming angry and violent, what would you say changed you to want different?
Sister, look, I had a rage issue. I didn't have it, and you know when they say you go to anger management classes and you take 20 hours of anger management classes and you complete parenting services and you know, you sign this paper and you can do, I had rage issues. So it was past violent. I was, and the bottom line of where my rage come from is just about where 95% of my brothers and sisters' rage come from. Violence is just the end result of what we see of a multifaceted, symptomatic issue. When I started working with Erie, he said violence is like a disease and it's an epidemic, and I thought he was the most craziest white boy I ever seen in my life, because Madea told me if somebody hit you, you hit their ass back, and if they're bigger, you better pick up something and bust their shit and come back and take care of it. Right? Was that said to you?
Yep.
We thought that was defending ourselves, right?
Yep.
Now we got brothers and sisters with weapons of mass destruction. So, but before it gets to that level of weapons of mass destruction, we have to think about really our life and our journey of being broken, being disappointed. See, I can talk about me freely without any, I don't care what you do with my stuff. I hope that you would take my stuff and say, damn, this is to the guys. Even though that's a girl, I can identify with her journey and with my sisters. Damn, that's a girl, and they said that we're not supposed to mess with each other and we don't like each other because you prettier or you bigger or your booty's bigger and your eyes are prettier. And they set us against us. I want you to look at what I'm saying and not who I am. As being broken, fear of abandon. Wendy Red, I was raised by my grandmother. I love Madea. Madea a little gangster. But I didn't want to do what Madea did. Madea worked 3 jobs, had her own boutique. She stressed herself out because we had to Madea made sure that when I was growing up, Sears and Roebuck's, that was like the Macy's and Lord & Taylor's back in the day. You know what I mean? So that's what my grandmother's goal was. Her goal was to get that Sears charge card and make sure that she had to provide the best for us. But in the interval, she stressed herself out. And in the intervals, she stressed us out. Because with that, and her trying to communicate to us on why my mother's not there, why my dad is not there, why was my mom 15 when she got pregnant, 16 when she left, why is my dad Jeff Ford, and where the fuck is he in the first place? You understand what I'm saying? But we didn't deal with that. But we still went on with our journey, and then I got with dude that I'm asking myself today, what did I see in him? Because I loved his dirty drawers then, I'm telling you. I would catch a case for him. Today, and then he broke my heart. We didn't deal with that. So my journey kept going. Right? And I'm still seeing Madea stressing herself out. I wanted to get out the hood. So I started selling dope. So my feelings were so suppressed that I medicated myself. And selling dope, the street life. Like I said, I wasn't an alcoholic drinker, but I don't know what y'all smoking today. I'm not saying everybody in this room. And I don't know if you feel guilty about it, then you need to stop smoking that shit. But it is toxic, killing our young guys and girls and throwing them into a mental health state of mind. So, but I medicated. I smoked me some weed. I can smell it 5 blocks down and tell you if it was sesame and indigo. Y'all young folks don't know nothing about that because y'all loud enough. and out and around and going Molly on me, and I can't understand that Molly. But anyway, we're going to keep going on. I don't even know who Molly is. Have you ever? I don't know who Molly is. I ain't met Molly. I don't want to meet Molly. But anyway, so as I suppressed in my journey and not dealing with it, because mind you, we still have family. We have children now. And we really don't want to talk about issues that's really bothering us to make us at any given point, what the fuck is going on? Why the hell is this happening? Why am I always right here all the time? Who the fuck is you talking to? You talking to me? Okay, all right, let's go. Then we're talking about a homicide or a buking or a stomping. So we don't deal with the issues at hand. That I am so happy that here and at our community that I have we deal with the underlying issues, sis, that causes us, that caused me to have a rage issue. See, I wasn't angry, I was rageful. I had no girlfriends, because I felt you liked my man and you wanted him. So we ain't gonna be friends. And then when I let you in, the first time that you even breathed, but that didn't have nothing to do with you. That had something to do with my mother abandoned me. So we have to deal with the issues at hand. So we won't medicate and use and end up killing ourselves and somebody else. So as I grew up, and I didn't grow up in not just in age, because I'm still 22. I'm still 22 and holding. I had to grow up heart, mind, and soul, because I didn't want to be rageful anymore. I didn't want to produce a product of where my dad is. My dad is in the penitentiary. I would hope and pray tomorrow they will open those doors for him. May not look that way from the government standpoint. My mom and I's relationship is the best that it can possibly be, and I'm cool with it. Because I'll call and she answers, and she'll call me and I'll answer. And that's cool. But I had to grow up. And I had to say, look, you know what? The hand that life dealt me, I didn't have a whole bunch of jokers. I didn't have no aces. And all my shit was straight hearts that kept getting broken. But I still had to play that hand. And I had to learn how to play it like a big girl. Because I didn't want to continue to be where I was every time a circumstance is a situation that maybe didn't have nothing to do with that last circumstance or situation, but that feeling was still the same. That end up was still the same. I was down at 51st and Wentworth, the police station, with a buy slip. What's that I'm saying? My dad had to come and get me. I wanted to stomp your brains out. Then I felt bad about it because I do have a conscience and a soul. So we had to grow up. And we have to have some accountability of being men and women. And then we had a conversation as I grew up, then my dear grew up. And she talked to me about things that happened to her, that happened to me at a young age, but back then they don't talk about it. So as I grew up, she grew up. This is my grandmother though. And we talked about it. It may not was sorry or the way that I wanted it to be. So I stopped putting an expectation on life. Only thing I want to do is be a good person, you guys. That's all I want to do. But once I put an expectation on this sister over here and say, look, our friendship is based upon every morning that you see me, I gotta have me a caramel latte hot, 4 sugars, medium, and 5 munchies for $1, and watch my kids whenever I ask you to. And if you say no, that's a wrap for me and you. I'll never speak to her again. That's not right. But the expectation that I have for this sister is good to see you. You're very beautiful. Your olive skin is gorgeous.
I tell her that all the time.
My brothers. Expectations that I have to my brothers. I'm just talking to, our sisters, we struggle a little bit. To my brothers. Having to identify my brother's body in Riff River. That was one of the hardest, at that stage in my life. That was the hardest thing that I ever had to do. Is go ID my brother that was tied up in a way that my dad tied up cows and lambs on our farm that we had that he was selling. So in my mind, who tied my brother up? Somebody that knew, right? So I'm identifying my brother that's dead and got changed for no reason whatsoever. There was a reason by why they say it was, but that's no reason to do that. I had to identify my brother's body contingent to a lesson that my father taught. So I wanted to go after every brother that was a part of my father's nation. But I didn't. Honestly, I didn't. But I told my nephews, because I saw my nephews being angry and rageful, because the nation killed their father. So I had to tell them the truth. So to my brothers, I say that we have an accountability to our community. Us women by nature, I'm just saying, don't get upset, but this is the truth. We are the strongest link. Only thing we need y'all to do is move the couch, the chair, and a couple of boxes that we ask you to move. However, we need you all. Well, I'm just saying, wait a minute.
You can say it.
I'm just kidding. We need you all. Yes, I am a little girl still inside of my body. And I need my strong brothers. I need my strong men to take the community back. I need my strong men, even those that don't even know the history. Because I understand, looking at a young brother right here, and he may have gotten out and was hanging out with some guys, some old cats that told him some stupid shit and spent them off and made him mad, and now he got a resentment with all the older cats, and the only thing that he gonna do is be on his own. I understand that. But the bottom line is, there's still history. Maybe street, diplomatically, community, and culture. There's still history. And it's a responsibility for my young men, my brothers, to pass that history on to our children. The truth. The truth. Like I was talking about earlier about all this water that we was on the ocean, and back in the day, I'm not saying today's day, because it's not that day, but I'm just talking about today's day is not that day. But this ocean, when you want to talk about organized crime, when we're talking about the difference between gang violence and it ain't no games. That bullshit is overdone. It's a wrap. They locked up or killed. Now, if you think you're a leader and you want to start your own following, a multitude behind you, and you think you can do it in a different way than the ones that have done it before, my dad has done 30 years already. They took Larry Hoover from the state penitentiary straight to the max. One of the brothers, the leaders statues of the Latin kings died in a penitentiary. I'm just saying. So if you want to talk about the history, let's talk about the history. But let's talk about what it is that we can do and how the history first began. Once I released the resentment from my father, I had to learn the history. It wasn't no Bloods and Crips back in the day, so y'all must say I wasn't happening. Leader of the G's, LB's, Cobblestone, Both Corner, Hustler, Breeds, all that. We're talking about gangs that's up in the Midwest. That East Coast, West Coast will try to merge and say Bloods and Crips and all of that. That's just some stuff that ones put in their minds to make it seem that it's a reality. All of them wanted to come together and community mobilize. They wanted to make sure that the government wouldn't do what's done in our beautiful communities here. Shut down the factories. Our brothers and our sisters, our fathers, our mothers, our grandmothers, and our grandfathers wouldn't be without a job. Jack up the school system, have us against each other, eating garbage, rot gut, so we can't think. That's what the government initially in the 60s and the 70s wanted to manifest, and it's manifesting now. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to not validate a brother that feels that, you know what, I put work in on this street, I love whoever my allegiance is to, as far as the street, learn your membership. Because if you learn your membership of any street organization, we wouldn't be killing each other. We would be putting poison. You said what, bro? We wouldn't be putting poison in our young community. This is a young community here. This is a young community. When I went to New Bedford, this is a young community. And I hear from one end to over here that we're struggling with the money. No, they ain't struggling with the money. What they're not struggling with is people supporting each other, saying, look, unask that cash so we can live productively in this community. That's what they're not hearing, so they ain't gonna give it to us. So I need our brothers and sisters to come together and stand before the legislatures. I ain't saying they ain't cool or not. I'm not saying, but they got their own agenda. And their agenda is mass incarceration, not education. That's what their agenda is. And I can talk about that. That's their agenda. I have a lot of friends as part of that political ramification. I can't be a part of that political ramification because I cuss too much. And I've been done cussing me a motherfucker out about closing down the community schools where our youngins supposed to be, opposed to taking them all the way 50 miles north and 20 miles south to get the same education that they can get in their block. I'm not saying we're gangbanging in our block. What I'm saying is that each culture has a way of life, a heartbeat, and we should learn it together as a community and not chop the communities up. And that's what's happening. So, other question. Did I ask you a question about the range? To be a violence interrupter, this is the doctor's concept that I thought was. He looked at violence as an epidemic, that people who had HIV or malaria or polio, if they had, fresh, is that thing in?
No, it's
If they had fresh water, then they'll be able to, be able to live healthy, and if they take the antibiotics with the fresh water, they can live, or HIV, they can take the medicine and they can live, and it can be undetected, but they have to have messengers to carry that out, that if you drink clean water and take your medicine, then you won't die from parasites in your stomach from bad water. Or if you have HIV, if you take your medicine and put a rhinestone on that piece, or abstain from that piece, then you can become a productive member of society, and it can be undetected, and you can have a healthy life when you get married. Right?
Let me try, tell
So, being a violence interrupter means to stop the transmission of violence from one person to another. So I talked about how Medea would say if somebody, my mother locked me out from the bullying. I was running home every day for about three months. Running home, the bully was chasing me. And Rhonda, I was like in 4th grade. Rhonda was maybe looked like she was in 18th grade. She looked like she was about 12. She's about 12 feet, 9 inches. You know, she looked like a giant. Running home one day, I'm not going to say what she had a weapon on the side of her hand. She said, if you don't do it, you're going to get your ass cut. So I thought about what she had, and now what my mother had, we were in Memphis, so you all moved down south. So what the weapon was that my mother, with that weapon, would be probably cutting me in 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces with that weapon. So I was scared. I didn't want to fight. I tried to talk to Rhonda. Rhonda said she wanted to fight me. She ain't like me, no way. I'm like, Rhonda, wait, hold on, let's talk about this. I was looking around to see where the big rocks was. End result was I ended up fighting Rhonda. I fought Rhonda, and I whooped Rhonda. And I cried for about 5 hours because I felt so bad because I didn't want to fight Rhonda. But I didn't want to be whooped with her stick for it. So when I look at my job and I talk about situations and circumstances that I can ID with, because see, in Chicago, we have parents that you will call and say, your child is sick, or your child needs this, that, and the other. And they'll say, don't call this phone no more, I'm at work. Who gave you this number? Why are you calling me? Right? Or your child is fighting. The child is suspended. So, in working in schools and volunteering for ceasefire and the things that I went through with my life helped me understand about stopping the transmission of violence from one person to another. Oh, I left the key part out about Rhonda. Rhonda was 3 girls of 6. So the rule is that can't nobody jump in. Y'all know I was about to say that, right? Can't nobody jump. My cousins was around. Can't nobody jump. Rhonda's sisters also looked like they was about 12 feet, 9 inches too. And my little cousins was like my little cousins. But if Rhonda's sisters would have jumped, my cousins would have jumped too. So that meant that the transmission of violence between Rhonda and I spread it between Lee, Michelle, Regina, and they was some thick girls. So we would, Uncle Willie would have had to come up out the house and help us on this one. And then they have an uncle, so their uncle gonna come and help them. So when I do, and I look at and I assess the circumstance and situation of what's going on with why there is a conflict that we have to mediate. Those that have seen the interrupters opened up with It was a big fight. Some girls came on the Chicago Transit Authority, 20 blocks west and 18 blocks south, with their mama, their 2 little children, and a butcher knife to come and help their brother who got beat up. So my thing is to get the people that, even though they was about to whoop some men, they was about to whoop some men. Matter of fact, they got one of the guys, they caught one of the guys. I didn't want it to be a homicide, so don't mean that your brother is a punk or you ain't do what you, that means that you will not either end up in a penitentiary for attempt murder or murder, or you won't get killed. So let me get you off location. So when we talk about the transmission of violence and being an interrupter and trying to stop the transmission, it's case by case. You have to think quickly on your toes at all times about what that circumstance and situation is. You got to assess body language. You got to see, you got to assess, you know, if they red, if they sweating, if they sweating on their nose, if they sweating on their ears, if their hair on the back of their neck standing up. You got to assess all that. If they looking at you in your eyes, relationship that you have with these. If they're turning down away from you, I know they ain't trying to hear it, so I got to hurry up and get them away. So my goal is to stop it on the front end. What's going on in Chicago, they're not gang banging. They ain't gang fighting. It ain't the Crips against the Bloods. It's not GDs against BDs. It's not GDs against Stones. It's not, they fighting each other. It's black boys and black boys killing each other. That's it. They ain't going up to Palatine. They ain't going over. Palatine is a have community, if you will. Very, very nice schools. They ain't talking about closing schools in Palatine. They talking about closing schools in the city of Chicago. So when you look at the violence and why is it happening, that's why it's so important to have resources and to have conversations and dialogues and programs for young guys and girls before it jumps off, so you can tell them, so they can listen to you, so they can understand what's going on. So you can tell them, look, don't fall for the okie doke. Damn, wasn't it your boy yesterday? You fighting over a girl, Facebook, for real? I mean, these are the things that we deal with in Chicago. We deal with Facebook. There's been a lot of homicides because of Facebook in Chicago. The little girl that got killed last week, her funeral was Tuesday, the 6-month-old. They told her dad on Facebook he was done. He still continued to do what he was doing. Irregardless to his cousin was telling him, fall back. And he told his cousin, who was an outreach worker for Ceasefire, that he was going to fall back. And he didn't. And his baby ended up dying. So when you're a violence interrupter and you're working with these young participants as outreach workers, I'm not an outreach worker, but the violence interrupters, we stop the transmission of violence from one person to another. Then we refer them to the outreach. The outreach goes out and finds resources for them. If it's just a bus cart to get them back and forth from the parole place, or back and forth to school, back and forth to court, doctor, whatever it may be. That's what the outreach workers do. The resources is limited, so I'm an outreach worker sometimes because I'm coming out of my pocket to help ones do what they need to do to be successful. I ain't buying no loud. I ain't about to buy no red goose. Whatever that quack that is being drinking, I'm not doing that.
there's boundaries to outreach working. And I'm just telling you for real. You saw that commercial, didn't you? That goose commercial, right? You ain't saw that commercial?